From unsolved mysteries to unexplained phenomena, from comedy gold to relationship fails, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Because the only thing that should interrupt your listening is, well, nothing. Download the Amazon Music app today.
How can you make a difference in a child's life, even when you're busy? Stay tuned and find out.
Welcome. Okay, here's the question. You serious? How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph? Come on. Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Let's go. This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman. And push it out.
What is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to your daily dose of thinking of the kids, learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman, and you, well, that's infinitely more important, as you know. You are a driven entrepreneur, or one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, or just start leveling up some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that's why I'm here hitting you with yet another daily success episode coming to you straight from Dark Horse HQ as we dive deep into success with actionable advice, tips, and steps designed to help you level up your game, because we already know there are no shortcuts to success except for taking those little steps towards your goal every single day. I want to do a brief shift here today because I want to chat about the kids. I think our children, whether they're your children, my children, or someone else's child, are very important to our future. And I think giving to the kids is something we have to continue to do. I mean, I'm, plus 50 and I'm still trying to give to the kids, be they my kids or any other kid I cross paths with. And I'm a bit passionate about that because I guess statistically speaking, I personally probably should be in jail or dead or homeless. Given some of the things I did in my early years, I was lucky enough, apparently I was the child of a set of parents that didn't care for me that much. And the man and woman I come to know as mom and dad adopted me, or used to babysit me way back when I was an infant. And my mom, the lady I call mother and always will, fell in love with me and, saw the circumstances I was in with my biological parents and wanted to take me out of that, and went through a pretty rigorous adoption process. I think that took until I was, I want to say 3 or 4, as this story I've heard goes, and made me theirs and raised me as theirs, of course, right? But told me that they chose me, that I was loved, and that, when and if I ever wanted to know about my biological parents, all I had to do was ask. So, there's a different spin. So many people are like, oh, my parents don't love me. Well, I knew my parents loved me, and I still made some stupid decisions as a youngster, starting to hang around the wrong folks, maybe stealing a thing here or two there. And to try and correct my actions, went into the military to get back into the environment I had grown up in, because my father was in the military, and which was very helpful. But when I got out, as you all know, I started a little computer programming thing down in Southern California, which turned out to be successful. But that led to my path of drugs. I'd say that led. The next series of actions I took led down a path of getting hooked on drugs in the streets of California. So the business falls by the wayside. Business of doing drugs and selling and taking becomes the new business of choice. So I guess you could say, once again, statistically speaking, I should be dead, in jail, or homeless. But all along the way, the one thing that ever made a difference was a caring adult. I can remember in the mid-70s, we had to fly. We were living in Bavaria in Germany. My dad was stationed there. And my father's father, my grandfather, took ill. I think he was having one of his legs amputated due to some acute diabetes issues. And we flew out to Minnesota, and we stayed with family. And my dad, we took like 30 days leave, and my dad was trying to get transferred out to a local base so he could be close to his family. So during that time, while he was waiting for his transfer to be approved, I began going to school while living with my cousins. And needless to say, the Army didn't approve the transfer, sadly. So we moved back to Germany. And so started going back to school there. And shortly after that, I'm getting to the point here. Shortly after that, my mom's father takes ill. And so, with everything's going on, my dad had to take emergency leave, and they weren't unable to take me with them. And it was nothing for me to be a latchkey kid. I'd been a latchkey kid quite a bit. So I was old enough to take care of myself, fairly responsible, you could say. And so mom and dad, fly back to the United States. And I'm still going to school. We lived off base. As much as I wanted to say, I handled it very well, I was still a kid, right? I still had these things going on inside my head. I was still scared for my grandpa, and mom and dad were gone, and they were going to be gone for at least 2 weeks, which every kid dreams of, but there's always those fear factors. But I had this amazing teacher, my English teacher, Mrs. Swanson. Here I am, 50 plus years old, and I can still remember her name because she had that kind of impact. She engaged with me. She paid attention. She saw my fears. And so, just started asking questions. Hey, what kind of things you like to do? What kind of this? And she learned my penchant for sci-fi and fantasy. So she suggested a book by Ray Bradbury called The Tattooed Man. Probably one of the most impactful books I've read in my early years. I won't tell you what it's all about because I'm already 7 minutes in here. I haven't gotten to the points yet. But it was that one caring adult that made that scary time for me far less scary. And she did that by just taking a few minutes out of her day, which she would have been doing anyway, but she, came over to me and paid attention. And that's, if you have the ability, and we all do, you can make a difference. Even if you're busy. And there's really only, like 3 things you need to do, right? The first thing is to identify, right? And there's so many out there that could use your help. There are kids out there that are looking like they might be from successful families and doing well that could still use your help. And so step 1, just identify them. If you see one that's looking a little off by themselves or whatever flag catches your attention, right? Well, then step in and find out what they're into, right? Spend time doing what matters to them because they matter to you, right? Invest the time that will lead to influential conversations. Heck, invest the time that'll just lead to a conversation. Sometimes just showing that you care enough to sit down and chat with them about what matters to them can have such a huge impact. And the next thing you got to remember is do not get discouraged. Sometimes you might start investing time, and I know I've done this, and you're just thinking to yourself, it's not working. I'm not getting through to them. One of the things to remember is kids spell trust T-I-M-E, right? They've probably had adults that have come in and out of their lives time and time again. So if you're in there and you're investing that time and you keep showing you're willing to learn about them, then the TRUST begins to develop. Now, mind you, I am no psychologist. I'm telling the story from my side, being the kid, and that person that took the time for me. And that's just one example with Miss Swanson. Of course, I had others later on in life that helped me correct my course. And here's the thing. And if I think back, every time that I didn't have, I'll call it a trusted adult, a trusted person of authority, right, that I would look up to, if I didn't have that kind of person around that I could talk to, I acted out. for me, I think things had to come out one way or another. I either had to have someone I could trust that I could talk to, or I had to let it out via action. And I think the last little note here, and this comes from some recent experiences from my eldest daughter, who's now in her 30s, where she shared a poem she had written for me back when she was 16, and more recently she has gone back to college and she's taken this lit class, and one of her assignments was to look back and just kind of write about things, and I can't remember the exact specific assignment, but one of the things she wrote about was how some of the words of wisdom I had shared with her back when she was young still rings in her ears today. And one of those words of wisdom was about when you fail, it's like you hear me say here all the time, it's feedback. She would come home with a bad grade. It wasn't about, oh, you could have done better. It wasn't about browbeating, about attaining a higher level. It was about, okay, let's take a look at what answers you got right. We know we're good there. And what answers you got wrong. I guess at the end of the day, it was my way of saying, I see your potential. I want you to see your potential. You're not a problem. There's an opportunity. And we take that opportunity to learn about, oh, well, you got this one wrong. What's the right answer? Oh, you got this one wrong. Why do you think it happened? And so forth and so on. And let me tell you, it was pretty powerful. The poem she wrote actually brought me to tears, and then obviously the more recent assignment where she was sharing how words of wisdom I passed on to her when she was, in elementary and in high school. And you're sitting there thinking, did my words ever get through? And you come to find out, almost 20 years later, that not only did they get through, but they're helping to guide her in a positive direction now. Okay, I feel good. So, it's really important whenever you're able to, and maybe even sometimes when you're not able to make yourself able to take time and give back. And I know I did an episode about how entrepreneurs give back in so many ways. Well, here's your way as a person to give back, right? Just take time and see how you can make a difference in one kid's life, all right? Take the time and be there. Let them know you not only see them, but you can see under the surface of what may be their troubles. You can see everything that they can be, and let them know they can be amazing. Be that one caring adult that makes all the difference in their life. All right. A little different episode today. I think it's one of the cool things about having a medium like this is being able to share with you where things are going. And for me, I think part of being a successful person, an successful entrepreneur, is help others along their way, even the kids. All right, now tomorrow we're going to continue on our path of what successful people are doing, and we're going to share with you some things that confident, successful people are doing that I think you should be doing too. All right, my Dark Horse friends and family, I know you want to keep getting all these daily tips, so make sure you're going down there and hit that subscribe button while you're there. Drop us a 5-star rating and leave us some kind words in the review. Heck, I don't even care if they're kind words. If you're like, dude, what are you talking about kids for? I don't care. Go ahead and drop that in there too. All right. And then come over and hang out with us in the Facebook group, and maybe I can share with you why I'm saying these things. Go to facebook.com, go to the search bar up there and hit Dark Horse Tribe, and that should take you right there. If for some reason that's not working, go to your favorite web browser, type in darkhorseschooling.com/Dark Horse Tribe, all one word. That should take you right there. I look forward to getting to know you inside the Facebook group. All right, you get out there. You run your race. You get your results. And come over to the Facebook group and let me hear about them. Until tomorrow, think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Did you know this?
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.